Welcome, welcome, and welcome. It has been 3 years since our last Power of the Purse event, and one expression of welcome simply doesn't seem to be enough. So welcome, welcome, welcome again. I'm Mary Jean Levin, President of Roanoke Women's Foundation, and it is a pleasure to be here with so many members and guests today. Although it has been too long since we were last together, in the same place at least, that has had no real effect on the ability of Roanoke Women's Foundation to serve our community. And I have two examples that I want to bring to your attention. Just in these 2 virtual years, the latest 2 of our 17 years of awards so far, we have awarded $700,000 real dollars to 13 real nonprofit organizations in our service area. And interestingly, during the same period, we have also made some unexpected impressions in the community, exemplified by the recent receipt of a $565 gift from Ada Phi Sisterhood of Roanoke College. According to their email, these young women chose us as the beneficiary of their fundraising because they admire the work we are doing for the Roanoke Valley and appreciate being a small part of it. You, the members, are the heart of our ability to accomplish what we do. Membership donations for the 2022 voting year are due June 30th, which I was told I needed to remind you of. Many of you have already paid. Others will receive renewal notice sometime this week. And for any of our guests inspired to join by today's program, there are member donation forms available in the lobby and more information on our website. Dues received by June 30th will allow you to participate in site visits and voting for the 2022 award year. I have a special recognition I want to request from you all. Because of our inability to meet together during COVID restrictions, our 2 most recent presidents have not had the great pleasure that I am experiencing right now. Well, yes, they have been stars in the YouTube videos that replaced our Power of the Purse and award events, but that can never be as satisfying as actually being with you. The leadership that they've expressed, the strength, resilience, and sheer grace that they demonstrated and inspired in so many others through this difficult period are responsible for the healthy women's foundation that we have today. Nancy Dixon and Kathy Stockberger, I know you're both here, and I want you both to stand up. They have more than earned that thanks and applause. Now to the point of this event. The mid-year reports of our 6 2021 grant recipients. They will be introduced by 2 of our grants committee leaders, Jenny Bradley and Susan Cook. Jenny, I believe you're first. Excuse me. Whoa.
Thank you, Mary Jean, and welcome. It is my pleasure to present Ruth Parsons, who is the administrator at Adult Care Center of the Roanoke Valley. And we were able to grant them $38,000 toward the purchase of an activity bus to transport their elderly and disabled patients. Ruth?
Thank you, Jenny. Adult Care Center of Roanoke Valley is honored to be here this evening. The center's 7,700 square foot building was purpose-built in 2008 across Roanoke Boulevard in Salem from the Virginia Veterans Care Center and the Veterans Administration Medical Center campus. It was a group of concerned citizens like yourselves that made it possible. The center is open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Participants attend 2 to 5 days per week with transportation provided by families, Radar, Cortran, or private insurance companies. Participants represent a range of ages and disabilities, from young people with autism to adults with injuries or conditions such as muscular dystrophy to seniors with dementia and Alzheimer's. We also have folks that have brain injuries. The center provides dependent adults with a safe place, a home during the day. With a loved one at the center, caregivers can maintain a job, leave the house for important tasks like grocery shopping or banking, or maybe they just need to rest and lay down and sleep. Possible transition to a 24-hour care facility is delayed, and the caregiver's mental and physical health is safeguarded. Participants receive meals, snacks, bathing assistance, and experience fun activities like music therapy, reminiscent programs, Tai Chi, crafts, and gardening, and many more special events such as our Mardi Gras. Assessments, medication management, a personalized care plan, and health monitoring are provided by an RN and an LPN, and certified nursing assistants on our team provide daily hands-on care with activities of daily living. We do therapeutic diets, we do feeding, we do toileting, we do whatever needs, we satisfy whatever needs arise. Recently, we honored one of our participants who turned 100 years. For his daughter, the center nurses attend to his medical needs, and she can get outside to mow the many acres on their farm in Fincastle. This centenarian enjoys the fellowship and camaraderie of many friends and veterans who really care at the center. On behalf of the Adult Care Center of Roanoke Valley participants, staff, and our board of directors, I would like to thank the Foundation Grants Committee and their leaders, Sue, Jenny, Trudy, and Susan, and the other 16 members, and you, the members of the club, for granting us an impact grant for a new van. We are in the process of searching for that special van. Your immeasurable generosity is what gives our participants the opportunity to ride in a new, shiny, handicapped, accessible van. It also enables our participants to be connected to the larger community, the Roanoke Valley, and beyond. This is accomplished by going on beloved, treasured outings, such as viewing the Christmas trees at the Hotel Roanoke, watching a Salem Red Sox baseball game from box seats at the local stadium. When the new pinball museum opened downtown, they even went on an outing there. And of course, we're really looking forward to a scenic outing along the parkway to the Peaks of Otter for lunch on the lake. You are truly making a difference. We can do so much more because of the Roanoke Women's Club. Thank you from the bottoms of our heart.
The Children's Assistive Technology Service received $40,000 from the Roanoke Women's Foundation to purchase speech therapy equipment for young children and to provide continuing education for parents and therapists. I'd like to ask Kathy Cummins, who is the volunteer program director, to come forward.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you. I really appreciate that the Roanoke Women's Foundation sees the need and supports the need that we're seeing out there on ground level working with kids with disabilities. Where there's a will, there's a way, making it happen for children with disabilities. In this project, Children's Assistive Technology Service, better known as CATS, is working with the federally mandated, state and locally funded Infant and Toddler Connection Early Intervention Program. This program provides in-home services, payment on a sliding scale to any family with an eligible child. Eligibility is based on failure to meet developmental milestones regarding motor skills, communication, learning, or social emotional achievement. As a reminder, Children's Assistive Technology Service is all about making it possible for children with disabilities to have access to equipment and devices which allow them to overcome a disability and participate in activities with family, friends, and peers. Our healthcare system is slow to respond to these kinds of needs and a bit stingy to boot. It can take months to years for a child to get needed assistive technology. Meanwhile, these kids are missing out on learning opportunities their typical developing peers are experiencing. So how's the project going? Slowly. We will need the full 2 years. But we did knock out milestone number 1 right out of the gate. That was to establish a communication device loan library with brand new state-of-the-art devices for young learners. We did this based on input from speech therapists working with children in the Roanoke Valley. Done. But 6 months in, it's still a bit underutilized in my opinion. It is doing a little bit better than the one at our program down in Marion, serving the far southwest region of Virginia. You see, we are simultaneously running 2 similar projects aimed at introducing assistive technology to young children with disabilities funded by 2 different grants, yours here in the Roanoke Valley and the state's affiliate, Virginia Board for People with Disabilities, down south. So, of course, I'm comparing notes with my colleague, Dr. Gardner Umbarger, a retired special education professor. These projects were based on our careers elsewhere. Mine was in Fairfax County as a pediatric physical therapist and assistive technology specialist. For 10 years, I ran a program of providing assistive technology for the largest early intervention program in the state under a special federal grant. In 2012, remember that time? That grant dried up. But hey, I was retiring anyway, so that was okay, right? Within 2 years after my program was shut down, though, the families enrolled in early intervention rose up and demanded to have it reinstated with local funding. It was, but that was Fairfax. What does they say? Northern Virginia is really a separate state. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I imagine that this prayer is often uttered by families that we work with, suddenly finding themselves caring for a little person unlike anyone they have ever seen before. They don't know what might be possible for their child, and they are afraid to ask. I've begun to do in-service trainings with their early intervention service coordinators. There have been many new hires this past winter and now spring, people with little experience who are also afraid to ask. What is possible for these children who are not developing like their peers, who may have spina bifida, cerebral palsy, autism, arthrogryposis, osteogenesis imperfecta, spinal muscular atrophy, muscle dystrophy, Down syndrome, Rett syndrome, any number of genetic syndromes, congenital or acquired brain injuries? How are the families supposed to know? The healthcare system does little to help them know. They often have to fight with their health insurance providers to cover services and equipment which they think their children need. Living healthy is more than surviving. It's about thriving. Sadly, early intervention service providers are taught to be very careful and not to rock the boat when they work with client families. Don't take toys and equipment into the home, as they're told. Make do with what they already have. Well, you know, that's not going to work in a lot of cases. Take, for example, a child 18 months old who's unable to sit independently on the floor. This prevents her from being able to view the world from an upright vantage point and prevents her from reaching out and exploring objects. She has to be able to do that to learn. Propping her up with pillows only goes so far. And at 18 months, she's outgrown those bumbo seats you buy at Target. So what's wrong with providing a seating system which supports her well enough so that she's able to use her hands to play? Are we allowed to do that? The service coordinators ask me. The families who have discovered Children's Assistive Technology Service are our best spokespeople. They are in and out of our doors regularly, trading in and acquiring new items as their child grows and changes. So our next step is to bypass the service providers and get these families to talk to each other, to be big and loud, and to ask, what can my child do? What are the possibilities with the right supports to empower him or her? I know that a child born with no limbs can run from his mom and cause her to chase him down the sidewalk at 11 months old. I know that a child who can only move his fingers and his eyes can navigate the halls of a middle school, can pass his geography test, and write papers with impressive empathy. I know that a child who can't stand up by himself nor say an intelligible word can still be student council president at his middle school. Even in Franklin County, a young woman who will never walk can still be prom queen and have a career in IT and even have a boyfriend. She reminded me recently that I told her that when she was 12 years old, that she could do all those things. Thank you so much for supporting Children's Assistive Technology Service.
Kids Soar received a grant of $44,000 for renovation of its community kitchen for use in the after-school literacy program for elementary students and their families. Candace Hess is the executive director. Candace.
Thank you, Jenny. And Kids Soar is very honored to be a grant recipient to help us renovate our kitchen at our downtown location. One of the things that we had realized in 2020 when things shut down, we run after-school programs, so of course we were closed. But we had a lot of our families reaching out to us because they couldn't find food. Food wasn't on the shelves in the grocery stores, and what was there was outpriced for their price range. And so we pulled together what we had on site to give to the families that we could, and we started making phone calls, and churches that were closed, that had food pantries, they brought their food to us. And before we knew it, we had lines of cars out our parking lot. And there was a realization there that not only was there a need for that, but we had produce we were giving out that we ended up finding out our families didn't know how to prepare. And so not only did we realize that our families had food insecurities by attaining it, we also realized that they needed education. By May, we had given out 35,000 meals out of the back parking lot of our site at 305 Mountain Avenue. By September, we were at 45,000. And in a normal school year, just with our kids, we served 9,000 meals just to our children. And so we've always fed the kids in our programs. And for those of you who aren't familiar with us, we run after-school programs to help children learn how to read, to be proficient readers by 3rd grade, because we believe that children, if they can read well, grow up to be adults who can do amazing things, and they are the future of our community. We truly believe that this grant is an investment not only in Kids Soar, but in the community in which we serve. Our plans, although we haven't spent the money yet, we have people coming in giving us estimates because, let's face it, prices have changed since we got our initial quotes, and so we're working on that now. And although it's costing more, we have been able to leverage the gift that you have given us to be able to cover the added expense. And so we will be working on the kitchens this summer and hopefully have it completed by next year. Not only do we want to use the kitchen for the children in our programs and their families, but we also hope to open it to other members of our community. We've realized through our partnerships and other organizations that we have adults in our community that also need other adults to be with, that they can cook with, that they can share with. We also learned that we also need to share the knowledge that some of us take for granted that is not being passed down to our children and also through the families in which they have. So with this grant, we really hope that not only will it benefit all the families we serve, that it will also serve a lot more exponentially through the community. And so we hope to bring hope to people who don't know and a lot of education, because we know that we can make a difference if people are educated, and not just in literacy, but also in food and also in financial. We also run adult programs just for our families, but we've realized we need to open those up to other organizations and other members of our community who want to have more. So although I can't tell you today that we've spent the money, I can tell you we are going to spend every penny. And that the money that you've invested with us will go really far, not only just in this year, but we hope for many years to follow. Kids Soar has been here for 33 years, and we are still growing and making changes. And I really, really appreciate what all of you are doing for the entire community, not just with us. So thank you very much.
Thank you. That was very inspirational. I'm going to start with Mill Mountain, which we all know is probably one of the most important cultural and artistic institutions in the Valley. They received $38,000 from us last year for the atelier, and I'm going to get Ginger Poole, who is the producing artistic director of Mill Mountain Theater, to come and explain what the atelier is and why the atelier and our project are so important to the future of Mill Mountain. Ginger?
Good evening, everyone, and thank you. So Mill Mountain Theater has spent your grant. Work is underway to replace and upgrade the cooling and ventilation system at the Atelier, which is the facility that houses visiting actors, directors, stage managers, and other theater artists who come to Roanoke for productions that you see here on our stages. By summer, we'll report that the project will be complete. Today's report is really about leverage and the ability of a major grant to draw more support to a project. The $38,000 you gave Mill Mountain Theater last November was not enough to do the job, but combined with money from another foundation, it was enough to convince other funders that we are serious about accomplishing big goals. Our partner in this project, Center in the Square, owns the building and has launched its own fundraising to completely replace not just the cooling component, but also the aging and failing heating of the building. In fundraising circles, this is known as leveraging one source to gain another. Mill Mountain Theater is one of the few organizations that has won more than one grant from the Roanoke Women's Foundation. You also enabled us to replace outdated lighting and sound equipment in this space right here, the Trinkle Main Stage. Both projects are key components that define Mill Mountain Theater as a professional member of the national theater industry. More important, it enables us to define Roanoke as a community that achieves high standards for the quality of life and doing business. I want to thank John Levin for teeing up this grant with us. I want to thank Doris Rogers for your support here tonight and all that you do for Mill Mountain Theater. And I want to thank each and every one of you with the Roanoke Women's Foundation. Thank you.
New Horizons Healthcare has one of the most innovative programs that I've seen recently in their dental clinic. We granted them $105,000 to take dental services from the office out into the community. That's maybe harder than you might think, especially when they are dealing with little peewees at the Head Start child care centers and the very elderly and ill in nursing homes. So we have Dr. Jessica Charité, who is a pediatric dentist, to come and explain to us how they managed to do that.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry, something dropped on the ground. Okay, good evening. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting us this evening. So I had the opportunity to review the proposal that New Horizons submitted when we were applying for a grant from the foundation, and I noticed that there was a lot of like mysterious mentions of like a pediatric dentist that would be coming or a pediatric dentist that they had hired. I'm here. Thank you. So I wasn't here with New Horizons at the time that the health center applied for the grant, but I can definitely say that I've been on the receiving end of it and the benefits of the grant, so I just want to say thank you so much. But good evening again. My name is Jessica Charite. I am the new pediatric dentist at New Horizons, and I've been there for 10 months, so I'm a new dentist here and also a new person to Roanoke, so getting acclimated slowly but surely. But it's definitely an honor to present on our health center's progress so far in our dental outreach and our service to the community thanks to your kindness, compassion, and generosity in funding our oral health across the lifespan project. So one thing that I did want to mention is that when we first developed our plans for this program about a year ago, we were actively involved in outreach services to the senior residents at Friendship community, and we also foresaw a potential for growth in our outreach to seniors as well as to children, hence the program title, Oral Health Across the Lifespan. But what we didn't anticipate at that point were recent changes in our dental workforce. So some of our critical team members, actually, including our former dental director, who was one of the people who spearheaded our application for the grant, Dr. Mawala, have moved on to new career opportunities and or relocated to be closer to family. So this has reduced the size of our dental team temporarily, which means that we don't have sufficient staffing currently to deliver outreach services as we had initially planned, which I think is just like the nature of things right now. Like everyone's short-staffed, everything's changing everywhere, so we are not immune to that, but we keep on. And while we're actively recruiting more dentists to return to full staffing, we do continue to serve all ages, including residents of Friendship, but we actually serve them within our clinic now as opposed to going to them. So that has been quite an experience to get that organized, but it's been really awesome to see some of our most incapacitated or disabled individuals, especially elderly individuals from Friendship, be able to be transported to our health center, whether it's in their wheelchair, whether it's in a whole stretcher that we're fitting into the operatory. Like we're moving, we're shaking, we're not letting anything get us down, so we're making it work. So therefore, we are reporting our use of this generous grant award as intended to support the startup of our new dental clinic on Williamson Road, and this is a pediatric dental clinic with the focus on the needs of the underserved children and adolescents that we serve. So we're super excited to tell you that the clinic is almost done being renovated, which is super exciting. And we are tentatively scheduled to open our pediatric dental clinic for New Horizons sometime this summer, tentatively in July. And the next steps are really just installation of the equipment that we have started to purchase using the grant funds. And if all goes well, as I mentioned, we will be open this summer and moving from our current Melrose location to Williamson Road strictly for the pediatric patients. So speaking of this equipment that we purchased, let me tell you that the equipment alone, we haven't, obviously you heard we got quite a bit of money from you all, so thank you. So we haven't quite spent it all, but so far, the equipment that we have purchased has been game-changing for working with our kids. So I can tell you already, like the impact that I've seen amongst the pediatric patient population as well as their parents and the families that I work with. So there's countless examples when it comes to them, but there's one in particular that I wanted to share with you, and that is one of the equipment that we requested called a Nomad, as well as a phosphor plate system. So that sounds like really interesting, but I'll explain more. So taking x-rays, obviously when you go to the dentist, taking x-rays is like the foundation of the dental appointment. Like we can't really do much without x-rays, so we need x-rays for basic diagnosis, basic treatment planning. As a pediatric dentist, I can tell you one thing about kids is that they're not very good at taking x-rays. So thankfully, with your generosity, we have been able to purchase portable equipment to change the whole way that we take x-rays at our clinic currently. And we will, of course, use it when we move to the Williamson Road Clinic. So in terms of the Nomad, this is it. So it is a portable x-ray machine, which is amazing because when you try to take x-rays on kids, let me tell you how it is. We first use all of this. This is what was on the floor. So we have to use all of this. You've probably seen this when you go to the dentist and there's all these wires and things that you have to bite down on. Kids don't, they don't do very well with you trying to shove this into their mouth. It's hard, very difficult sensor. So now with our phosphor plate system that I was mentioning, we have these little plates. And they literally, all you need is to take the children's x-rays. And it has been game-changing, like I said. So no more of this. We use these. We are able to snap the pictures very quickly. And we also have the portable equipment where we don't have to run out of the room and press the button and hope the kid didn't move for the pictures. So thank you so much. This is just one example out of many, but we really appreciate it. So just in terms of the overall impact that I can speak to in terms of the pediatric population, whereas before I came to New Horizons, our patients were mostly getting referred out. There wasn't really a huge capacity to be able to take care of kids, especially as a health center. So oftentimes we were referring to private practices who didn't want to see our kids because they were on government insurance or they didn't have any insurance. So now that we have a lot of the equipment that we didn't formerly have, and we're still getting more and more thanks to your generosity, the kids are getting the care that they need, and they're getting the care that they deserve, and they're getting it in-house. We're not having to refer them anymore. So overall, I can't emphasize enough, and words just simply can't express how much this grant has meant to us, and also, of course, to our most underserved and vulnerable patient population here in Roanoke. And I can tell you that something really good is happening at New Horizons, especially as it pertains to our pediatric population. So I really want to thank you all for being a part of that good. I really do. Thank you.
Wow, I'm exhausted. Okay, our final grantee is Renovation Alliance. Some of you may not be familiar with Renovation Alliance. They work to repair and renovate houses for low-income homeowners in the Roanoke Valley. And they do it on a shoestring, mostly because they use a gazillion volunteers. We think our grant is potentially game-changing, I can't say it the way you did, for that volunteer program, because we think it will change how they deliver their services and the kinds of services that they can deliver. So we have Ellie Rigby with us tonight. She's the executive director.
Thank you, Susan. Hello, everybody. On behalf of myself and my staff and my board of directors and all our volunteers, and especially our homeowners, we are so excited to be a recipient this year of a grant from the Roanoke Women's Foundation. The specific area that your dollars are supporting is for us to really invest in our volunteer program through a volunteer support program system. And this had a lot of different components, so I'm really glad y'all stuck with the application and really read through it, because there's a couple of different areas where we saw a need. And one of those is that if you're not super familiar with our organization, we work in about 130 different households all around the Roanoke Valley every year. And that involves mobilizing contractors or volunteers to go out to these homes and providing the tools and materials that those volunteers need. And so that usually involves coming into our warehouse and grabbing things at the last minute, and then phone calls back to the warehouse because somebody forgot a drill, or we don't have the saw broke down, or that we just don't have the materials that we need. And we saw a need by looking at other organizations similar to ours that had these really cool tool trailers, that would make life so much easier. If we had a couple of trailers that had everything that a volunteer group could possibly need for a project, to where we can just go deliver this trailer, lock it up to the site, and then those volunteers have everything that they need in order to implement a project. I'm happy to report that we have purchased one of these trailers and are in the process of outfitting that particular trailer, and we've reached out to other organizations to make sure that we're looking at other programs and what they have done to their trailers so that that ours are just as good. But because we are nimble and we try to leverage every little bit of funding, we're also scouring our warehouse to make sure that we're not buying something that we already have 5 of. Because that would not be being good stewards of your dollars. And also we are scouring Craigslist to find these trailers because brand new trailers are kind of expensive, but we have found one that is great, and Roger, one of my staff members, could be a full-time Craigslist guy. So he has done an excellent job at finding these things for us. And so the second part of this funding, though, that we're really excited about is to really develop a volunteer training program. We get a lot of volunteers that come in, and this is the first time that they've ever had a power tool, but they want to keep coming back to us. And so we see the need here to develop some good training modules so that those repeat volunteers come back to us over and over again, develop those skills, and then maybe they run projects on our behalf. Right now, we are a staff of 3, and we also have an AmeriCorps Vista with us. And one of those 3 people is part-time. So we are spread very thin. So we really need some good, skilled volunteers to help us implement these projects. And we also see where if somebody's learning something on a Renovation Alliance site, that helps the whole valley because they can go out after this and work on a volunteer project with TAP. They can go work with Habitat for Humanity. They can even help their neighbor, replace a toilet flusher because they learned that with us, And people can develop those skills to take care of their own homes, which is really empowering. And really the interventions that we provide to our Roanoke Valley homeowners can be the difference between somebody being able to stay in their home or having to leave that home. And so training volunteers to be able to help us leverage our funding to do this for more people is so important. At least we think so. And then the third facet of this funding is to help fund a staff position. We were looking at it as a part-time position. Now we are really hopeful that this will be a full-time position to where we can have a full-time construction manager and a full-time person working with our volunteers. And actually, we have somebody here tonight who's our AmeriCorps Vista, Megan, who is exceptional and is helping us with some capacity building this year. And we're really hoping that your dollars will convince her to stay in Roanoke and help us implement this program. So no pressure, Megan. But I just want to express, too, that with organizations like ours, working on a shoestring budget with a small staff, it's really hard to realize, we had a lot of time with COVID and everything to think about what we would do if we just had the money. But so many of the funding, so much of the funding we receive is very program specific. I'm about to wrap up. But, it has to go directly to the home repairs, which are so important. But in order for us to help more people, we have to make those other investments in our program to realize these, to equip our volunteers better and to have more staff positions so that our outreach can be so much greater. And so I just want to thank you for providing us the opportunity to grow. So thank you guys so much.
Pretty impressive. Pretty impressive stories. Thank you to all 6 wonderful nonprofits for the work you do every single day, and especially for the projects you brought to us to give us a share in supporting them. Also want to thank Mill Mountain Theater for letting RWF use this space where we so often enjoy your performances, and to Center in the Square for the lovely atrium location that we used for our reception. Particular thanks need to go to the Events Committee led by Yvonne Olson and Sandy Andrew. For 2 years, they have prepared for double our celebrations, not knowing until late in the process whether an actual, virtual, or hybrid option would be needed. The excellent planning and execution of today's event are the result of their extraordinary flexibility and the teamwork of their committee. Such strong committees whether events, grants, membership, or communications, are reminders of the generosity of our members in voluntary service as well as monetary gifts. Roanoke Women's Foundation promises that members do not have to commit time, only their money, of course, an important part, yet we do count on the willingness of many to make this the well-functioning organization that it is. We know that some of you might enjoy greater involvement with the other wonderful members of RWF. If you happen to be one of these, we would love to know where your talents and interests lie. When you came in, you were given a blue card there. They are forms indicating whether you might like to serve on a committee or on the board, either now or in the future. I can absolutely attest to the satisfaction of working together with such delightful women. And I look forward to seeing all of you at our 2022 awards celebration on Thursday, November 3rd. Hope the rest of your evening is good.